Sihan stopped walking on the sidewalk, staring through the bistro window. There was Peyton, the wife who ran off 4 years ago without saying anything. But what made him stop breathing was the 3 little kids with her. The boy had his same serious face. One girl pushed up her glasses just like him. The other had his stubborn chin. Sihan held his briefcase tighter. Inside were divorce papers he'd flown here to get signed. But now, looking at these kids who looked just like him, those papers felt super heavy. What was Peyton hiding? If you're already hooked by this family drama and want to see how this crazy situation plays out, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button right now. Trust me, this story is about to get a lot more complicated. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I love hearing from you guys. Sihan had practiced what to say 100 times on the plane ride from Seattle. Keep it simple. Get in, get out. Just walk in, say, Peyton, sign these papers, and leave. But that was before he saw the kids. He stood on the sidewalk another minute, trying to understand what he was seeing. The sun was warm. Tourists kept pushing past him. Some guy played guitar nearby. Everything felt weird. Through the window, he watched Peyton help the little boy pick between 2 colors. She was smiling. That real smile he remembered, not the fake one she used at dinners with his dad. This was her real one. Her hair was different now. Shorter. Curly instead of straight like before. She wore jeans and a sweater with paint all over it. The old Peyton always dressed nice for surprise work meetings. This Peyton looked relaxed. Free. One of the little girls, the one with his chin, looked up from her coloring book and pointed outside. Her sister looked too. Both girls stared right at Sihan. He should have moved. Should have walked away. But his feet wouldn't work. The boy looked up next. Now all 3 kids were staring at him with big eyes. Peyton must have noticed because she turned to see what they were looking at. Her face went white. For a few seconds, nobody moved. Sihan watched her face change from shock to fear to something else. Her hand reached out fast, pulling the kids closer. That hit him hard. The math was easy. 4 years since she left. Kids looked about 3 or 4. So she was already pregnant when she disappeared. Sihan's chest felt tight. His lawyer had asked if there were any problems that might mess up the divorce. He'd said no. Clean break. No kids. No shared stuff except the apartment she left. He was wrong about that. The bistro door was right there. Sihan made himself move. His hand grabbed the handle. Inside smelled like bread and coffee. Music played. Other people sat at tables, just enjoying their day. Normal people with normal lives. Sihan opened the door. The bell rang. Everyone at Peyton's table froze. Mommy? The little girl with glasses spoke first. Who's that man? Peyton stood up so fast her chair made a loud noise. People looked over. Girls, stay with your brother, Peyton said quietly. Her voice was steady, but Sihan could see her hands shaking as she grabbed her purse. I'll be right back. But Mommy, the smallest girl started. Elena, please. Just color with your sisters. I need 2 minutes. Sihan stayed by the door, knowing he was making a scene just standing there. The girl behind the counter was watching them. An older couple stopped eating to stare. Peyton walked toward him. Up close, she looked different. There were little lines by her eyes that weren't there before. She looked tired but stronger. She stopped a few steps away. Close enough to talk quietly. Far enough to run if needed. Sihan. His name came out soft. How did you find me? Hired someone, he said, keeping his voice low. Took 6 months. Her jaw got tight. Why? He lifted the briefcase a little. Divorce papers. My lawyer needs you to sign. Something crossed her face. Relief? Disappointment? It was gone too fast. Okay. She nodded once. Leave them with me. I'll sign and mail them. I need to watch you sign. Then give me the papers. I'll sign now. Then you can go. Sihan looked past her at the kids watching with big eyes. The boy was frowning. Just like Sihan did when thinking hard. We need to talk first, Sihan said. No, we don't. Peyton. You got what you came for. Her voice was still quiet, but harder now. I'll sign the papers. Then we're done. Are they mine? The question hung there. Peyton's face didn't change, but her body did. Her shoulders went back. Her chin lifted. Does it matter? She asked. Yes. Why? You never wanted kids. You made that clear. Sihan felt like he'd been punched. That's why you left. It wasn't a question. The pieces fit now. The weird feeling that last month they were married. Her random questions about the future. The night he found her crying in the bathroom, saying it was just work stress. I left because I had to, Peyton said. She looked back at the kids' table. The smallest girl was wiggling in her seat. Look, this isn't the place. Then where? She thought about it. Sihan could see her looking for a way out. The pier, she finally said. 2 blocks down. There's a quiet spot by the boats. But the kids are coming. Fine. Peyton walked back to the table. Sihan watched her kneel down to the kid's level, saying something he couldn't hear. The little boy's eyes stayed on Sihan. Suspicious. Protecting his mom. Smart kid. All 3 kids started packing their stuff. It was crazy but organized. The girl with glasses couldn't find her purple crayon. The small girl tried to carry all the books herself, even though they kept falling. The boy just watched Sihan with serious eyes. Peyton helped with their jackets. All 3 kids wore mismatched clothes that looked secondhand, but clean and cared for. The smallest girl had cartoon shoes. The boy's jacket had a small tear someone had fixed. This was Peyton's life now. Small. Simple. Nothing like how they lived before. They headed for the door. Sihan held it open. Elena smiled at him as she walked out. Thank you, mister. Elena, don't talk to strangers, the older girl said right away. But he opened the door. Mommy says we say thank you when people are nice. Mia's right though, baby, Peyton said softly. Come on. Stay close. They walked toward the pier. Tourists everywhere. The smell of ocean mixed with food from nearby restaurants. Seagulls making noise. Sihan walked behind them, watching. Peyton kept all 3 kids close, one hand on Elena's shoulder, her eyes looking around. Really alert. Was she always this careful? Or just because he showed up? The boy kept looking back at Sihan. Checking he was still there. Making sure he wasn't dangerous. The pier came into view. Not as many tourists here. More locals fishing or sitting on benches. Peyton led them to a quiet spot where old boat docks made a small safe area. The kids ran to the railing to look at boats. Not too close, Peyton warned. Mia, hold your sister's hand. The older girl did it right away, taking Elena's hand. The boy stayed between his sisters and the water. Another protective move. Now they were kind of alone. Well, sort of. 3 nosy little kids were close by, pretending to watch boats but clearly listening. Sihan put his briefcase down on a bench. Peyton stood with her arms crossed, watching the kids. So, Sihan said. We doing this? Doing what? Stop the games, Peyton. Are they mine or not? She was quiet for a bit. One of the girls, Mia, called out about seeing a seal. Peyton nodded but kept looking at Sihun. What do you want me to say? She asked. The truth. The truth. Peyton laughed, but not a happy laugh. Okay. The truth is I found out I was pregnant 4 years ago. 2 weeks before I left. And I knew if I told you, you'd either tell me to get rid of them or use them for your family business. So I made a choice. Sihun felt sick. I wouldn't have. Wouldn't you? Peyton's voice got sharp. Your dad was already talking about how our marriage helped with shipping. How my family's business was good for moving his stuff. You think I didn't know what that meant? I kept you away from all that. You kept me in the dark. That's different. Peyton looked at the kids again. Elena was trying to climb the railing. Mia pulled her back down. I heard you on the phone that last week. You said families were problems. You said the business needed cleaning up. People needed to be removed. Sihun closed his eyes. He remembered that talk. His lawyer was telling him about the federal investigation that was starting. They were talking about witnesses, family members who might be problems. He never meant Peyton. I was talking about my cousin, Sihun said. He was using my name to run side deals. The lawyers wanted him cut off. Peyton just stared at him. What? The problem wasn't you. It was never you. Sihun ran his hand through his hair, getting mad. If you'd just asked me. I was scared. The words burst out. Then quieter, because of the kids, I was scared, Sihun. Your world was dangerous. I watched your family work. I saw what happened to people who got in the way. And I was pregnant with triplets. Triplets. Do you get what that felt like? Triplets. The word hit him hard. Mommy? The boy walked over, his little face serious. You okay? Peyton's face softened right away. I'm fine, baby. Just talking to an old friend. He doesn't look friendly, the boy said, still watching Sihun with suspicious eyes. Sihun got down on one knee, at the boy's eye level. Up close, it was even more obvious. This kid had his nose. His eyebrows. Even the head tilt when he was doubtful. What's your name? Sihun asked. The boy looked at his mom. Peyton nodded slightly. James, the boy said. That's my sister Mia. And that's Elena. She's the baby. I'm not a baby. Elena yelled from the railing. I'm 3 3/4. Nice to meet you, James. Sihun held out his hand. James looked at it like it might be a trap. Then, really carefully, like a much older person, he shook Sihun's hand. His grip was strong for such a little kid. Are you gonna make my mom cry? James asked. The question was so honest that Sihun didn't know what to say. I hope not, he finally said. Okay. James looked at him another second. You have sad eyes. Like mommy sometimes. Then he walked back to his sisters, done talking. Sihun stood up slowly. Peyton was watching with a look he couldn't read. They're smart, Sihun said. Too smart sometimes. Peyton's voice got soft. James especially. He sees everything. He looks like you. I know. Peyton hugged herself. They all do. Different parts of you in each of them. I see it every day. The weight of 4 lost years hit Sihun. 4 years of bedtimes and scraped knees and first words. 4 years of Peyton raising 3 kids alone. Because she was scared. Because he was too busy with work to notice what was happening at home. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Peyton tensed right away. You should check that. Your flight's probably soon. Sihan pulled out his phone. It wasn't a flight reminder. The text was from his business partner, Marcus. Federal agents just left the office. They were asking about Peyton. Sihan read it 3 times, his blood going cold. What? Peyton asked. She'd seen his face change. What is it? He turned the phone to show her. All the color left her face. No, she whispered. No, no, no. I've been so careful. I don't use my real name for work. I pay everything in cash. How could they? When's the last time you used your credit card? I don't. I cut them all up. Social security number? Doctor visits for the kids. Peyton's hand went to her mouth. Last month. James needed shots for preschool. They needed insurance papers. And there it was. One normal parent thing, and now federal agents were asking questions. Sihan looked at the 3 kids playing by the railing. James was explaining something about boats to his sisters. Elena was collecting rocks. Mia was carefully watching the water, being responsible even at 4. His kids. The divorce papers in his briefcase suddenly seemed stupid. We need to go, Sihan said. Now. Go where? Somewhere safe. He was already thinking of options. Somewhere they can't link to either of us. Sihan, I can't just. Peyton. He looked right at her. If federal agents are asking about you, it means someone told them you matter to their case. Which means you're either a witness they want to protect, or a target they want to pressure. Either way, staying here isn't safe. She looked at her kids. Her whole world in 3 small humans. Okay, she said quietly. Okay. My apartment is 6 blocks from here. We can grab stuff we need. How long to pack? 10 minutes. Maybe 15 with the kids. Sihan checked his phone again. No new messages. That was either good or really bad. Let's move. Peyton called the kids over. They came running. Elena's hands were full of rocks. Adventure time, Peyton said, trying to sound happy. We're going home to pack special bags. Where are we going? Mia asked. It's a surprise. Peyton's voice was steady, but Sihan could see the fear in her eyes. But we need to hurry, okay? So everyone needs to walk really fast. I can run. Elena offered. Walking is better, baby. Stay close to mommy. They started back toward the street. Sihan walked beside Peyton now, close enough to talk quietly while the kids walked ahead. Your apartment might not be safe, he said. I know. But the kids need their stuffed animals. Elena won't sleep without her bunny. Sihan thought about arguing. Then he thought about the scared look on Elena's little face when Peyton called him a stranger. 15 minutes, he said. Then we're gone. Peyton nodded. Behind them, the sun was setting over the bay. Tourists were heading to dinner. Street performers were packing up. And Sihan's simple divorce trip had just turned into something much bigger. His phone buzzed again. Marcus. They had photos. Of all of you. Sihan's hand tightened on his phone. Someone had been watching them. Someone knew about the kids. And that changed everything. Federal agents? Peyton whispered. She looked at the kids walking ahead of them, then back at Sihan. Why would they be looking for me? Sihan put his phone away. Because of me. Because of my family. The shipping connections. I cut all ties. I changed my name. I pay cash for everything. Except that doctor visit for James. Peyton's face went pale. One slip up. That's all it took. Her voice shook a little. They turned the corner onto a quieter street lined with older apartment buildings. Not the fancy area of San Francisco, but not the bad part either. Just a normal neighborhood where normal people lived. Which building? Sihan asked. The blue one. 3rd floor. Peyton called out to the kids. Almost home, guys. Elena ran ahead, her little legs pumping. Mia followed close behind, keeping an eye on her sister. James hung back, looking between his mom and Sihan with those serious eyes. He's coming with us? James asked Peyton. Just for a little bit, sweetie. Peyton's voice was light, but Sihan could hear the tension. He's going to help us with an adventure. Is he your friend? James pressed. Sihan and Peyton exchanged looks. We used to know each other, Sihan said. A long time ago. James didn't look convinced, but he nodded and ran ahead to catch up with his sisters. They reached the blue building. No elevator, just stairs. By the 3rd floor, Elena was whining about her legs being tired. Without thinking, Sihan bent down and picked her up. She weighed almost nothing in his arms. She stared at him with huge eyes. You're strong, she said. Elena. Peyton started, reaching for her daughter. It's fine, Sihan said. He was surprised how natural it felt, holding this tiny person who was part of him. Elena settled against his shoulder like she belonged there. Peyton unlocked the apartment door. The place was small. Just a living room with a kitchenette, a bathroom, and what looked like 2 small bedrooms. Toys were neatly organized in bins. A small dining table had 3 booster seats. Art supplies filled a bookshelf. Peyton's paintings hung on the walls, bright, colorful scenes of the ocean. Okay, game time, Peyton said, clapping her hands together. Remember our special bags? The ones we packed for adventures? Let's get those ready super fast. I know where mine is. Mia ran to the closet and pulled out a small backpack with stars on it. Me too. Elena wiggled out of Sihan's arms and ran to join her sister. James just looked at Sihan. Why do we need adventure bags? Smart kid. Too smart. Just in case, Sihan said. Sometimes it's good to be ready. Because of the bad guys? James asked. Sihan and Peyton locked eyes across the room. What bad guys, sweetie? Peyton asked carefully. The ones you watch for when we go to the park. The ones you told us to run from if they ever talked to us. Sihan felt a chill. Peyton had been watching for threats. Teaching the kids safety rules. How long had she been living like this? Afraid? Yeah, Sihan said. Those guys. But don't worry. Nobody's going to get close to you or your sisters. Promise? James asked. Promise. James nodded once, then went to get his backpack. Peyton disappeared into her bedroom. Sihan could hear drawers opening and closing. He stood in the middle of the living room, feeling out of place surrounded by all these signs of a life he knew nothing about. A family photo caught his eye. Peyton with the 3 kids at what looked like their birthday party. A small cake with 3 candles. Party hats. Peyton looked tired but happy. That was last year, Peyton said, coming back with a duffel bag. Their 3rd birthday. They share the same birthday. Triplets, remember? She gave a small smile. Though James likes to remind everyone he's 5 minutes older than Mia, and 12 minutes older than Elena. Triplets. 3 babies at once. And she'd done it all alone. Peyton, I don't. She shook her head. Not now. We need to move. She raised her voice. Kids. Are your special bags ready? Remember, just the important things. The kids came running back. Elena's backpack bulged with what looked like mostly stuffed animals. Mia had packed more carefully: clothes, a small book, a toy. James had the least in his bag, but Sihan noticed he had a small first aid kit clipped to the outside. Always prepared, huh? Sihan asked, nodding at the kit. Mom says we have to be ready for anything, James said. I'm the boy, so I have to help take care of my sisters. Something twisted in Sihan's chest. This kid, his son, had been trying to be the man of the family. At 4 years old. That's a big job, Sihan said. Maybe I can help with that for a bit. James studied him. Maybe. Peyton was moving fast, grabbing documents from a locked box, stuffing them into her bag along with clothes and toiletries. Sihan pulled out his phone and canceled his flight. We can't stay in San Francisco, he said. They know you're here. I know, Peyton said. She looked around the apartment, and Sihan could see the sadness in her eyes. This was her home. She'd built it from nothing. And now she had to leave it behind. Where do we go? I have a place. About 2 hours from here. Cabin in the woods. Nobody knows about it except my lawyer. Is it safe? She glanced at the kids, now sitting on the couch waiting. Safer than here. No paper trail. Bought with cash under a different name. Peyton nodded slowly. Okay. She took a deep breath. Kids, listen up. We're going on a special trip. To a cabin in the woods. Doesn't that sound fun? Like camping? Elena asked, bouncing up and down. Kind of like camping, yeah. Will there be bears? Mia asked, looking worried. No bears, Sihan said. Just trees and a lake nearby. I like lakes, James said. Can we go fishing? If you want to. Do you know how to fish? James challenged. Sihan smiled. I do. My grandfather taught me. My grandpa is dead, James said matter-of-factly. Both of them. Mom says one was nice but sick, and one was not nice but healthy. Sihan glanced at Peyton, who was suddenly very busy checking the windows. Not nice but healthy. That would be his father. Accurate description. We should go through the back, Peyton said. There's an alley that leads to a playground. We can cut through there to where you parked. You're really good at this, Sihan said quietly. I've had practice. She wouldn't meet his eyes. Kids, bathroom break before we go. Elena, you first. While the kids took turns in the bathroom, Peyton and Sihan stood in the kitchen, voices low. How long have you been running? He asked. 4 years. Different cities at first. We settled here when they were about 1. I thought we were finally safe. She shook her head. Stupid. You're not stupid. You kept them safe. Did I? Or did I just delay the inevitable? She finally looked at him. Your family. The business. It never really goes away, does it? Sihan thought about lying to make her feel better. But she deserved the truth. No. Not completely. But things have changed. We're more legitimate now. The federal investigation pushed us that way. What exactly do they want with me? Information, probably. About shipping routes. About what you might have heard during our marriage. Peyton laughed bitterly. That's the irony. You kept me so in the dark, I don't know anything useful. Nothing that would help their case. You knew enough to be scared and run. She was quiet for a moment. Yeah. I did. The kids came back from the bathroom, ready to go. Elena was clutching a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. One ear was falling off, and the fur was worn thin. Ready for adventure? Peyton asked, forcing cheer into her voice. Ready. Elena jumped up and down. They left through the back door, down a fire escape, and into an alley behind the building. The playground was just visible a block away. The sun was getting lower in the sky. My car's parked about 3 blocks past the playground, Sihan said. Do you have car seats? Peyton asked suddenly. Sihan blinked. He hadn't even thought of that. No. Peyton bit her lip. We have 2 in my car. It's parked in the basement garage. We'd need to get them. Too risky going back to the garage, Sihan said. If someone's watching the building, they need car seats. It's not safe without them. Sihan ran his hand through his hair. How far is your car? 2 levels down. Space 32. Sihan thought for a moment. You take the kids to the playground. I'll go get the car seats. 10 minutes, tops. They'll be looking for you too. They're looking for Peyton, a single mom with 3 kids. Not a Korean businessman in a suit. I'll be fine. Car keys? Peyton hesitated, then dug in her purse and handed him a set of keys. It's a blue Honda. Nothing fancy. 10 minutes, Sihan repeated. If I'm not back, take the kids and head for the train station. Sihan. Just in case. He looked at the kids, who were watching this exchange with curious eyes. Hey guys, your mom's going to take you to the playground for a few minutes. I'll be right back. Where are you going? James asked immediately. To get your car seats. So we can drive safely. You'll come back? Elena asked, her voice small. Something tugged hard in Sihan's chest. Yes. I promise. The simple trust in her eyes nearly broke him. She didn't even know who he was, but she was already worried about him leaving. Had she asked about her father before? Did she understand what was missing in her life? Peyton was looking at him with an unreadable expression. Be careful, she said finally. Sihan nodded and turned toward the apartment building's back entrance. He heard Peyton gathering the kids, her voice bright again. Race you to the swings. The garage was dim and smelled like concrete and motor oil. Sihan found the blue Honda easily. Nothing special, just a reliable family car with high safety ratings. The back was filled with 3 car seats. He managed to unstrap 2 of them, they were heavier than they looked, and carried them back toward the exit. The garage was quiet. Too quiet. Sihan paused, listening. There. The soft click of a car door closing. Someone else was here. He ducked behind a pillar, peering around. A man in regular clothes was checking license plates, moving slowly down the row. Not obvious, but the way he moved screamed law enforcement. Sihan waited until the man's back was turned, then moved quickly toward the exit. The car seats were awkward to carry, but he made it to the stairwell without being seen. He climbed back to street level, then cut through the alley again. At the playground, Peyton was pushing Elena on a swing. Mia was on the slide. James spotted Sihan first and ran over. You came back, he said, not quite hiding his surprise. I promised, didn't I? Sihan set down the car seats. We need to go. Now. Peyton caught his tone and immediately called the girls. Time to go. But we just got here, Elena whined. We've got an even better place to go, Peyton said. Remember? The cabin with the lake? That got the kids moving. They gathered their backpacks and followed Sihan out of the playground toward where his rental car was parked. Sihan kept scanning the street, watching for followers. What happened? Peyton asked quietly. Someone was checking cars in the garage. Looking for yours, probably. Her face tightened. How long before they connected to me? Not long. DMV records. They reached his rental car, a black sedan, nothing flashy. Sihan installed the car seats as quickly as he could, following Peyton's instructions. He'd never done this before. It was harder than it looked. The chest clip needs to be at armpit level, Peyton said, adjusting Elena's straps. This one's too loose, Mia complained as Sihan buckled her in. Sorry. He tightened the straps carefully. Better? Mia nodded, studying him with eyes that looked too old for her little face. Are you a good guy or a bad guy? She asked suddenly. Sihan paused. I'm trying to be a good guy. Mom says people can be both sometimes. Smart kid. Like her brother. Like her mother. Your mom's right. Sihan finished buckling her in. I'm trying to be good for you guys. Mia seemed to accept this. James was already buckled in the middle seat, watching everything. Sihan closed their door and moved to the driver's side. Peyton was putting their bags in the trunk. We should leave now. Yeah. Sihan started the car. Which way to get out of the city fastest? Take Market to the freeway. They pulled away from the curb. Sihan drove carefully, obeying traffic laws. No need to attract attention. In the back seat, Elena was already asking if they were there yet. Mia was telling her to be patient. James was silent, watching the city pass by. Just as they approached the playground again, a black SUV pulled into the parking lot. Government plates. Sihan recognized the type immediately. Get down, he said to Peyton. Below the window. She ducked without question. Sihan kept driving, maintaining speed. Not too fast. Not too slow. Just a normal car passing by. Nothing interesting here. In the rearview mirror, he saw two men get out of the SUV and head toward the playground. Looking for a woman with 3 kids. Are we playing hide and seek? Elena asked from the back seat, noticing her mom ducking down. Something like that, Sihan said. Your mom's really good at hiding, isn't she? The best, Mia said proudly. She always finds the best hiding spots when we play. Sihan glanced in the rearview mirror again. The SUV was getting smaller. Nobody following. You can sit up now, he told Peyton. We're clear. She straightened up, her face tense. That was close. Too close. Sihan turned onto the main road. They'll figure out pretty fast you're not at the playground. How long until we reach the cabin? 2 hours if traffic is good. Peyton nodded and turned to check on the kids. Everyone okay back there? Who wants to play a game? I do. Elena said. I Spy. Mia suggested. I Spy is good for car trips, Peyton agreed. Who wants to go first? As the kids started their game, Sihan focused on driving. Getting them out of the city. Keeping them safe. He had so many questions for Peyton. 4 years of questions. But they would have to wait. For now, he just had to get his family, somewhere safe. His family. The thought hit him like a physical blow. 12 hours ago, he was a single businessman flying to get divorce papers signed. Now he was a father of 3, running from federal agents. Nothing would ever be the same again. I spy something, red. Elena announced from the back seat. The stoplight, James guessed immediately. No. Guess again. The fire hydrant? Mia tried. No. It's Mommy's bag. Peyton smiled at her daughter in the rearview mirror, but Sihan could see the tension in her shoulders. They'd been driving for almost an hour, winding through back roads instead of taking the main highway. Better to be careful. Change of plans, Sihan said quietly so the kids couldn't hear. We're not going to the cabin. Peyton's head snapped toward him. Why not? Too obvious. If they connect me to you, the cabin might be one of the first places they look. So where are we going? I have an apartment in the city. Downtown area. Nobody knows about it, not even my family. Why do you have a secret apartment? Peyton asked, suspicion clear in her voice. Sihan kept his eyes on the road. Everyone in my position needs a backup plan. Your position? You mean being part of a crime family? Business family, he corrected automatically. But yes. Peyton shook her head. I don't like this, Sihan. Taking the kids back into the city? We should be getting further away. Trust me, this place is safe. High security building. No paper trail. Paid cash for 5 years up front. I spy something blue. Elena called out, bored with the adults' quiet conversation. The sky, Mia guessed. Nope. My jacket, James tried. Yes. Your turn. Sihan glanced at Peyton. She was staring out the window, her fingers tapping anxiously on her leg. We'll be okay, he said softly. You don't know that. I do. Protecting people is what I'm good at. Is it? Peyton looked at him. Because from where I'm sitting, your family is the reason we're running in the first place. That stung, but Sihan couldn't argue. She wasn't wrong. The city came into view again, lights twinkling as the sun set completely. Sihan took a complex route, doubling back and making random turns to shake any possible tail. The kids grew quiet in the back, the excitement of their adventure wearing off as tiredness set in. Are we there yet? Elena whined. Almost, baby, Peyton said. Just a few more minutes. Sihan turned into a busy area downtown, full of restaurants and shops. People crowded the sidewalks, making it easy to blend in. He pulled into an underground parking garage beneath a tall apartment building. The security guard recognized him and waved them through. You come here often? Peyton asked. Every few months. Just to check on things. He parked in a numbered spot, then helped get the kids out of their car seats. Elena was half asleep, rubbing her eyes. James was alert as ever, taking in their surroundings. Mia clutched her backpack tightly. Where are we? James asked. My apartment, Sihan said. It's a special place where we can all stay safe. Like a fort? Elena perked up a bit. Exactly like a fort, Sihan smiled at her. A really big fort with comfy beds. They took the elevator to the 12th floor. Sihan unlocked the door to apartment 1207 and flipped on the lights. The place wasn't huge, but it was clean and well furnished. A living room with a big couch. A kitchen with modern appliances. 2 bedrooms down a short hallway. Wow, Mia whispered, looking around. The apartment had a minimal, modern feel. Not really kid-friendly, but not intimidating either. Sihan realized he'd never imagined children in this space when he bought it. It was meant to be a hiding place for himself, not a family. Are you hungry? He asked the kids. We can order food. I want chicken nuggets, Elena said immediately. I don't think they have those nearby, Sihan said. But there's a really good Chinese restaurant downstairs. They make the best noodles. I like noodles, James said. Me too, Mia agreed. Chinese it is, Sihan grabbed a menu from a drawer. Peyton? Preferences? She was standing in the middle of the living room, looking lost. Anything is fine. While Sihan called in the order, Peyton helped the kids explore the apartment. Elena found the TV and demanded cartoons. James was more interested in the view from the windows. They could see the whole city lit up at night. Mia stayed close to her mom, still clutching her backpack. Food will be here in 20 minutes, Sihan said, hanging up. I got a variety. Noodles, rice, some chicken for Elena. Thank you, Peyton said stiffly. An awkward silence fell between them. In the background, Cartoon sounds filled the room as Elena found a kids' channel. You should probably turn off your phone, Sihun said. Just in case. Peyton nodded and powered down her cell. Sihun did the same. Now what? She asked. Now we wait. Eat. Let the kids rest. Figure out our next move. While they waited for food, Sihun found extra blankets in a closet. The apartment had one main bedroom and a smaller guest room. They'd have to figure out sleeping arrangements later. The food arrived, delivered by a teenage boy who didn't look twice at them. Sihun tipped well and locked the door behind him. They sat around the coffee table, the kids excited about eating on the floor, like a picnic. Elena made a mess with her rice. Mia ate carefully, making sure not to spill. James watched Sihun use chopsticks and tried to copy him, failing adorably. Like this, Sihun showed him the proper finger position. It takes practice. I'll get it, James said, determined. Watching them, Peyton felt a strange ache in her chest. This is what it could have been like. A normal family dinner. A father teaching his son to use chopsticks. If things had been different. If she hadn't been so afraid. After dinner, the kids' energy crashed hard. Elena was practically falling asleep in her sweet and sour chicken. Peyton took them to the bathroom one by one, helping them wash faces and hands. Sihun cleared the food containers and set up the guest room for the children. I found some t-shirts they can sleep in, he said, holding up adult shirts that would work as nightgowns for the kids. It's not ideal, but it's fine. Thank you. Peyton took the shirts. They're exhausted. They'll sleep anywhere tonight. Soon, all three kids were piled into the queen bed in the guest room, Elena in the middle with her stuffed bunny, Mia and James on either side. They fell asleep almost instantly, the day's excitement and fear catching up to them. Peyton stood in the doorway watching them sleep. Sihun came up beside her, keeping a respectful distance. They're amazing, he said quietly. They are. Peyton's voice was soft. They've been my whole world. Sihun wanted to say more, but the words stuck in his throat. I'm sorry. I should have been there. I should have known. Instead, he just nodded and stepped back. We should talk, he said. About what's happening. They moved to the living room, sitting at opposite ends of the couch. The city lights twinkled through the windows. Peyton looked exhausted. Tell me about the federal investigation, she said. Why are they coming after your family now? It's been years. Sihun ran a hand through his hair. It started with my cousin. He was using family shipping routes to move drugs. Against direct orders. The feds caught him, and he started talking to save himself. The investigation has been building since then. And what about me? Why would they suddenly be interested in me? You're the connection to legitimate shipping. Your family's business. They probably think you know more than you do. Peyton was quiet for a moment. I've been getting messages. For the past few months. Sihun tensed. What kind of messages? At first they were just weird. Texts from numbers I didn't recognize. How are the kids? Or nice day at the park. I thought they were wrong numbers. And then? Last week, I got a photo. Of me and the kids at their preschool. With a message, time to pay family debts. Sihun's jaw tightened. You should have told me. Told you? I hadn't seen you in 4 years, Sihun. You knew how to reach me. Did I? The man whose family threatened everything I cared about. They sat in tense silence. I've tried to keep them safe, Peyton finally said. I've moved 3 times. Changed my name. Used cash. Stayed off social media. But they found us anyway. Who do you think it is? I thought it was your father at first. But now I don't know. Sihan shook his head. My father wouldn't do that. He's cold, but he's practical. Threatening women and children isn't his style. Then who? Could be rivals. Could be someone trying to pressure me through you. Sihan leaned forward. Did you keep the messages? The photo? Peyton nodded. On my phone. We'll need to analyze those. Carefully, on a secure device. Peyton wrapped her arms around herself. I just want this to be over. I want the kids to be safe. To have a normal life. I know. Sihan hesitated, then added, would have helped you, you know. If you'd told me about the pregnancy. Peyton looked at him. Would you? Really? The man who told me repeatedly he never wanted children? I said that because of the family business. Because I didn't want to bring innocent lives into that world. Sihan looked down at his hands. But if I'd known, I wouldn't have abandoned my own children. You can't know that for sure. I know who I am, Peyton. She studied him for a long moment. Maybe. Or maybe you just think you do. The conversation died for a few minutes. The only sound was the soft hum of the air conditioning and distant city noises. What happened to us? Sihan finally asked. We weren't in love, I know that. But we were friends, weren't we? You could have trusted me. Peyton sighed. I heard things, Sihan. Conversations between your father and his associates. About how my family's shipping company was perfect for moving their special cargo. About how my father's illness made the business vulnerable. About how our marriage was a convenient business arrangement. It started that way, yes. But. And then I got pregnant. With triplets. And suddenly I realized I was bringing 3 innocent babies into a world where they'd either be used as pawns or be in constant danger. So you ran. I protected them. Her voice hardened. And I'd do it again. Sihan couldn't argue with that. In her position, with what she knew, what she believed, running had been logical. What now? She asked. We figure out who's threatening you. We deal with them. And then? And then what? Sihan looked toward the bedroom where his children slept. Then we figure out how to be parents. Together or separately. Your choice. Peyton seemed surprised by that. You'd accept whatever I decided? They're my kids too. But you've been their only parent for 4 years. I respect that. It was hard to say, but it was true. I just want to be part of their lives. The honesty in his voice seemed to reach her. Some of the tension left her shoulders. Okay, she said softly. One problem at a time. Sihan nodded and stood up. You should get some sleep. Take my bedroom. I'll sleep out here. What about tomorrow? Tomorrow we start figuring things out. Safely. Peyton looked like she wanted to say more but was too tired to find the words. She just nodded and headed toward the main bedroom, pausing at the door. Sihan? Yeah? Thank you. For helping us today. They're my family too, he said simply. After she closed the door, Sihan sat back down on the couch and opened his laptop. He needed information. About the federal investigation. About who might be targeting Peyton and the kids. The screen lit up with a news alert as soon as he connected to his secure network. Federal investigation expands to include family members of suspected crime organization. The headlines seemed to glow ominously in the dark room. Sihan clicked on the article, heart sinking as he read. Names were mentioned. His father. His uncle. Himself. And near the bottom, a line that made his blood run cold. Authorities are also seeking Peyton Ricks, former wife of Sihan Bayan, as a person of interest in the ongoing investigation. This wasn't just about protecting his newly discovered family anymore. This was about keeping Peyton out of federal custody. And he had no idea how to do that. Sihan woke up with a stiff neck from sleeping on the couch. Sunlight streamed through the blinds he'd forgotten to close. For a moment, he couldn't remember where he was. Then it all came rushing back. Peyton. The kids. His kids. Federal agents looking for them. A small face appeared in front of him, startling him fully awake. "You snore," Elena informed him, her stuffed bunny dangling from one hand. "I do?" Sihan sat up, running a hand through his messy hair. "Like a bear." Elena demonstrated with a growling sound that sounded nothing like snoring. "Sorry about that." Elena shrugged. "It's okay. Mommy snores too sometimes." "I do not," came Peyton's voice from the kitchen. She was already up, searching through cabinets. "Elena, leave Mr. Bayan alone. He's sleeping." "Not anymore," Sihan said, standing up. "What time is it?" "Almost 7, Peyton said. She looked like she hadn't slept much. "Do you have any kid-friendly breakfast food?" "All I'm finding is coffee and protein bars." Sihan winced. "Not really. This place isn't. I don't usually have children here." "Got it." Peyton sighed. "We need to do a grocery run." James appeared from the bedroom, his hair sticking up in all directions but otherwise looking surprisingly alert for a 4-year-old at 7 a.m. "Where's the bathroom?" he asked. "Down the hall on the right," Sihan pointed. "I need to go too," Elena announced, following her brother. "Wait your turn, Elena," Peyton called after her. Mia was the last to emerge, looking cautious and still half asleep. She stood in the bedroom doorway, surveying the situation. "Good morning," Sihan said. Mia just stared at him. "Not a morning person?" he asked. "She needs food first," Peyton explained. "Then she'll talk." Sihan looked in the fridge. "I have eggs. And bread for toast. Would that work?" "Perfect. The kids like scrambled eggs." Peyton grabbed the carton. "I can make them. Let me help." Sihan found a pan in a cabinet. "It's my kitchen, after all." They worked side by side, an awkward dance of two people who used to know each other but were now strangers. Peyton cracked eggs into a bowl while Sihan made toast. "The kids usually have school today," Peyton said quietly. "They're going to ask questions. What should we tell them?" "I don't know. That it's a special holiday?" "James won't buy that," Sihan said. "He's too smart." Peyton smiled slightly. "You noticed that already, huh? Hard to miss. The way he watches everything. Gets that from you." The simple acknowledgement that the children had parts of him in them hit Sihan unexpectedly hard. He turned away, pretending to focus on the toast. By the time all 3 kids were settled at the kitchen island with eggs and toast, the apartment felt weirdly domestic. Like a family morning. Except for the tension vibrating under the surface. "Why aren't we going to school?" James asked, right on cue. "We're taking a little break," Peyton said. "Like a vacation." "But it's not summer," Mia pointed out, finally talkative now that she had food. "And we didn't bring our school backpacks." "This is a special kind of vacation," Sihan tried. "A surprise one." Elena seemed satisfied with that answer, happily munching her toast. James kept watching Sihan with those 2 observant eyes. Mia looked between the adults suspiciously. "Is it because of the bad people?" James finally asked. Peyton froze, fork halfway to her mouth. "What bad people, sweetie?" "The ones Mr. Sihan is hiding us from. The ones you're scared of." Sihan and Peyton exchanged looks. "We're just being careful," Sihan said carefully. "Sometimes grown-ups need to solve problems, and it's better if kids are somewhere safe while that happens." "Are we in danger?" Mia asked, her voice small. No, Peyton said firmly. Not at all. Mr. Sihan is helping us stay safe. That's all. Is he our dad? Elena asked suddenly. The question hung in the air like a bomb. Sihan felt his heart stop. Peyton set down her fork. Why would you ask that, Elena? Because he looks like James. And he's helping us. And dads help moms take care of kids. It's complicated, baby, Peyton said. But is he? Elena persisted. Sihan couldn't breathe. He looked at Peyton, letting her take the lead. She took a deep breath. Yes. Mr. Sihan is your dad. I knew it. Elena shouted, bouncing in her seat. I knew it, I knew it. James stared at Sihan with new intensity. Why haven't you been with us before? Because. Sihan struggled to find words a 4-year-old could understand. Because I didn't know about you. Your mom and we lost touch before you were born. You didn't know we existed? Mia asked, frowning. No. Not until yesterday, when I saw you at the restaurant. That's why you looked so surprised, James said, nodding. It makes sense now. Are you going to stay with us? Elena asked. Another impossible question. Sihan looked at Peyton again. We're figuring things out, Peyton said. One day at a time. Okay. Elena went back to her eggs like the issue was settled. Kids were amazing that way. After breakfast, they realized they needed supplies. Clothes for the kids. Toothbrushes. Food that wasn't protein bars. There's a corner market 2 blocks away, Sihan said. We could all go. Is that safe? Peyton asked. Safer than splitting up. We'll be quick. In and out. The kids were excited about a walk. Peyton dressed them in yesterday's clothes, trying to smooth wrinkles and fix hair with her fingers. Sihan watched the practiced way she managed all 3 kids, getting them ready with minimal fuss. You're good at this, he said. For years of practice, she replied simply. The walk to the store was eye-opening for Sihan. Elena wanted to be carried after 1 block, her little legs tired. He picked her up automatically, surprised at how naturally she settled against his shoulder. James insisted on holding Peyton's hand, staying close to his mom. Mia surprised everyone by reaching for Sihan's free hand. So you don't get lost, she explained seriously. Thank you, Sihan said, equally serious. I'd hate to get lost. The corner market was small but had essentials. Peyton grabbed toothbrushes and kids' toothpaste while Sihan found some basic clothes, t-shirts, socks, underwear. Nothing fancy, but clean. Can I have this? Elena held up a stuffed tiger from a small toy display. Not today, sweetie, Peyton said. We're just getting necessities. Elena's lower lip trembled. Sihan almost caved immediately. Listen to your mom, he said instead, surprising himself. Maybe another time. Elena pouted but put the tiger back. Peyton gave him an approving nod. The food selection was next. The kids had strong opinions about everything. I hate green beans, Mia declared. I want chicken nuggets, Elena insisted. Can we get cereal? James asked more reasonably. Sihan watched Peyton navigate their demands with practiced patience. She knew exactly which battles to fight and which to let go. James got his cereal. Elena compromised on chicken pasta. Mia accepted carrots instead of green beans. At the checkout, Elena wandered off while Peyton was paying. Sihan spotted her talking to an elderly man near the door. Elena, he called, heart rate spiking. Come here, please. She skipped back to him. That man has a dog at home. He showed me pictures. You can't talk to strangers, Sihan said, kneeling to her level. It's not safe. But he was nice. Even nice-looking people can be dangerous. Stay with us, okay? Elena nodded solemnly. Okay, Daddy. The word hit him like a truck. Daddy. Such a simple word, but it carried so much weight. Back at the apartment, they unpacked their supplies. The kids wanted to watch TV, so Peyton found a kids' channel while she and Sihun put away groceries. Daddy, huh? Peyton said quietly. That was fast, Sihun admitted. I wasn't expecting. Elena attaches quickly. Always has. She's the trusting one. And the others? James will take longer. He's cautious. And Mia, she'll follow her brother's lead. Sihun nodded, stealing a glance at the 3 kids on the couch. His kids. The concept still felt surreal. I need to make a call, he said. My lawyer. See what's happening with the investigation. Is it safe to turn on our phones? Mine has encryption. It'll be fine for a short call. Sihun stepped into the bedroom and closed the door. His phone powered on with several missed calls and messages. Most from his lawyer. He dialed back. Where have you been? His lawyer, David, answered immediately. I've been calling for hours. Had to go dark for a bit. What's happening? It's bad, Sihun. The feds are freezing accounts. Your father's, yours, the business accounts. They're building a money laundering case through the shipping connections. Sihun sat on the edge of the bed. What about Peyton? Why are they looking for her? They think she knows details about the shipping routes. Her father's business was key to the whole operation. She doesn't know anything. They don't believe that. And now that she's disappeared with the kids, they think she's running because she's guilty. She's running because she's scared, Sihun said. Look, there might be a way out of this. For both of you. But you need to come in. Bring Peyton. Talk to the prosecutors. Not happening. They're offering a deal, Sihun. Immunity for information. What kind of information? Names. Contacts. Details about how the shipping routes were used. Information Peyton doesn't have, Sihun pointed out. But you do, David said quietly. The implication was clear. Turn on his family to save himself and Peyton. I need to think about this, Sihun said. Don't think too long. The offer won't stay open forever. After hanging up, Sihun sat on the bed for a long moment. The situation was worse than he thought. Coming in might clear Peyton, but at what cost? His family would see it as the ultimate betrayal. When he returned to the living room, the kids were still watching cartoons. Peyton was folding the new clothes they'd bought. That bad, huh? She asked, seeing his face. Could be better. Tell me. He gave her the short version. Accounts frozen. Money laundering investigation. Her supposed involvement. But I don't know anything, she protested. I was just the wife. I know that. But your father's shipping company was central to everything. And when you disappeared. It looked suspicious, she finished. Great. There's more, Sihun hesitated. They're offering a deal. What kind of deal? Immunity. In exchange for information. Peyton's eyes narrowed. Information I don't have. No. But I do. Understanding dawned on her face. They want you to turn on your family. Pretty much. Peyton glanced at the kids, then back at Sihun. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. But I need to figure it out fast. Elena chose that moment to run over to them. Daddy, come watch with us. It's SpongeBob. Sihun couldn't resist the little hand tugging his. Okay, just for a few minutes. He let himself be pulled to the couch, squeezing in between James and Elena. Mia gave him a sideways look but didn't object to his presence. On screen, a yellow sponge was having some kind of ridiculous adventure. "This is the best part," James informed him seriously. "I'll pay close attention then," Si-hun promised. From across the room, he caught Peyton watching them. There was something soft in her expression. Something he hadn't seen in a long time. Maybe they could figure this out. Maybe there was a way through this mess that didn't involve betrayal or prison or running forever. For the kid's sake, he had to try. His phone buzzed in his pocket. David again. "Sorry, I need to take this," he said, extracting himself from the couch. "But the best part," Elena complained. "I'll be right back. Promise." "In the kitchen," he answered. "What now?" David's voice was urgent. "They're offering a specific deal now. They want Peyton to testify about the shipping connections. In exchange, all charges against her will be dropped." "I told you, she doesn't know anything." "Doesn't matter. They think she does. And Si-hun, they're saying if she doesn't cooperate, they'll push for maximum charges. We're talking years." Si-hun's stomach dropped. "That's blackmail. That's the justice system. You have 24 hours to decide." The call ended. Si-hun stood in the kitchen, phone clutched in his hand. Behind him, Peyton spoke. "What is it? What did he say?" Si-hun turned to face her. "They want you to testify. About shipping connections you know nothing about. And if I don't? Prison. Years of it." Peyton's face went pale. She glanced at the kids on the couch, laughing at the cartoon. "They'd take me away from my children." "Yes. I can't testify about things I don't know, Si-hun." "I know that. So what do we do?" Si-hun took a deep breath. "I think I have to be the one to testify. To tell them what I know. It's the only way to protect you and the kids. Your family will never forgive you. I have a new family to think about now." Their eyes met across the kitchen. For the first time since he'd found her, Peyton didn't look away. "I can't believe we're actually doing this," Peyton said, smoothing her borrowed blouse for the 10th time. Si-hun had arranged for some clothes to be delivered to the apartment. Nothing fancy, just basics, but better than wearing the same outfit for 2 days straight. "It's just a meeting," Si-hun replied, adjusting his tie in the mirror. "We hear them out. That's all we're committing to. And the kids? David's assistant will watch them. She's good with children." Peyton didn't look convinced. "I don't know about leaving them with a stranger. We'll be in the same building. Just a few floors away." She glanced toward the living room where the 3 kids were building a fort out of couch cushions and blankets. They'd been cooped up in the apartment all morning, but their energy hadn't dimmed at all. "What if they ask me questions I can't answer?" Peyton asked quietly. "About the shipping routes. About your family's business. I really don't know anything. Just tell them the truth. That's all you can do. The truth." Such a simple concept that had gotten so tangled between them. Si-hun's lawyer, David, arrived 30 minutes later with his assistant, a friendly woman named Jen who immediately got down on the kids' level and asked about their fort. The kids warmed to her quickly. Even suspicious James seemed impressed when she suggested structural improvements to their blanket roof. "We won't be gone long," Peyton promised, kneeling to hug each child goodbye. "You be good for Miss Jen, okay? Will you bring us a treat?" Elena asked hopefully. "If you're good," Peyton said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Si-hun awkwardly patted James on the shoulder. "Take care of your sisters." James nodded seriously. "I will." The federal building was only a 10-minute drive away. David briefed them in the car. "The lead prosecutor is tough but fair," he explained. "They're mainly interested in the money trail through your father's shipping business, Peyton." My father ran a legitimate business, Peyton said defensively. I know. But they believe it was used to move illegal funds. By my family, Sihun added quietly. Yes. They think Peyton must have known about it because of her marriage to you. But I didn't, Peyton insisted. Sihun kept me completely in the dark. Sihun winced at her phrasing, but it was true. The prosecutor's office was coldly professional. No decorations, just law books and filing cabinets. Assistant U.S. Attorney Sarah Chen was a no-nonsense woman in her 40s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Mrs. Bayan, she began. Ms. Ricks, Peyton corrected. I went back to my maiden name. Of course. Ms. Ricks. Thank you for coming in voluntarily. The meeting started formally enough. Questions about Peyton's relationship with the Bayan family. Her knowledge of her father's shipping business. When she left the marriage and why. I left because I was pregnant, Peyton explained. And I felt the Bayan family business created an unsafe environment for children. So you were aware of illegal activities? Chen pounced. No. I just had suspicions. Conversations that stopped when I entered rooms. Business associates who made me uncomfortable. Did your father know his shipping routes were being used to launder money? Peyton's face hardened. My father was dying of cancer during most of my marriage. He trusted his new son-in-law's family to help save the business. If they abused that trust, he knew nothing about it. Chen switched tactics. Mr. Bayan, you claim Ms. Ricks knew nothing. But she's the daughter of Andrew Ricks. She grew up in the shipping business. It's hard to believe she was completely ignorant. She was, Sihun said firmly. I made sure of it. Why? Because I wanted to protect her. Keep her separate from that side of things. And yet here she is, running with 3 children, wanted for questioning in a federal investigation. Because of your people showing up and scaring her, Sihun countered. Chen leaned forward. Here's the situation. We have enough evidence to bring charges against the entire Bayan organization. Including you, Mr. Bayan. And Ms. Ricks as an accessory. I'm not an accessory to anything, Peyton protested. Then explain why you ran. Because I was scared for my children. Ms. Ricks, Chen's voice softened slightly. We're prepared to offer you full immunity in exchange for your testimony about the shipping operations. Your knowledge of the family business could help us shut down a major money laundering network. But I don't know anything, Peyton said, frustration clear in her voice. David interjected. What exactly would this immunity cover? All potential charges related to the Bayan organization's activities. She walks away clean. Keeps her children. No charges. Peyton looked at Sihun. And what about him? Chen's expression turned professional again. Mr. Bayan's situation would depend on his level of cooperation. The implication was clear. Peyton could save herself, but Sihun's fate was separate. I'll testify, Sihun said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. I'll tell you everything I know about the organization's financial structures. The shipping routes. The money movement. Everything. Chen looked skeptical. In exchange for? Full immunity for Peyton. And reduced charges for me. I need to be present in my children's lives. Sihun, Peyton whispered. Your family. You and the kids are my family now, he said, not looking at her. Chen sat back, studying them both. I'll need to discuss this with my superiors. This changes our approach significantly. How long will that take? David asked. I'll have an answer by tomorrow morning. In the meantime, both of you should stay available. This is where everything gets real, guys. Peyton has to choose between protecting Sihun and protecting herself. And honestly, I don't know what I'd do in her situation. If you're as invested in this family as I am, hit that subscribe button. We're only halfway through this story and it's about to get intense. The ride back to the apartment was silent. Peyton stared out the window, lost in thought. Sihan kept checking his phone for messages from his family. Nothing yet, but it was just a matter of time before they discovered his offer to testify. David dropped them off with a promise to call as soon as he heard anything. When they entered the apartment, they found all three kids napping in their blanket fort while Jen read a book nearby. They wore themselves out, she whispered with a smile. They're great kids. Thank you for watching them, Peyton said, walking her to the door. Once they were alone, the weight of their situation settled over them. Peyton sat on the edge of the couch, watching the sleeping children. You shouldn't have done that, she said quietly. Done what? Offered to testify. Against your own family. Sihan sat beside her, keeping a respectful distance. It was the only way to guarantee your safety. And the kids. Your father will never forgive you. Probably not. Peyton turned to look at him. Why would you do that? For children you just met? They're my children, Peyton. My blood. My responsibility. He ran a hand through his hair. And you're their mother. They need you more than they need me. Mia stirred in the fort, sitting up with sleepy eyes. You're back. We're back, Peyton confirmed, forcing a smile. Did you have fun with Miss Jen? She helped us build a better fort. And she knew how to make paper airplanes. Mia crawled out and came to sit between the adults. She looked back and forth between them. Are you fighting? No, sweetie, Peyton said. Just talking about grown-up stuff. Is it about the bad people again? Sihan and Peyton exchanged looks over Mia's head. Sort of, Sihan admitted. But you don't need to worry about that. Mia frowned. But you're worried. Both of you. This kid missed nothing. Just like her father. Sometimes grown-ups have to solve complicated problems, Peyton explained. It's our job to worry about them, not yours. Is it about Daddy staying with us? Mia asked, looking directly at Sihan. The simple question, and the fact that Mia had called him Daddy for the first time, hit Sihan hard. I want to stay with you, he said carefully. But there are some things I need to take care of first. Bad things? Complicated things. James was awake now too, listening from the fort entrance. Only Elena still slept peacefully. Mom was sad when you weren't with us before, James said. She cried sometimes when she thought we were sleeping. Peyton's face flushed. James. It's true, he insisted. She looked at pictures on her phone and cried. Sihan looked at Peyton in surprise. You kept pictures? Of us? Just a few, she admitted. For the kids. In case they ever asked about their father. Something shifted between them in that moment. The knowledge that despite everything, she hadn't completely erased him from their lives. I think we need to talk, Sihan said. After the kids are in bed. Peyton nodded. I think so too. The rest of the afternoon passed in a strange domestic blur. Dinner from a nearby Italian restaurant. A movie on TV. Bath time for the kids in Sihan's fancy bathroom that they thought was like a hotel. By 8 o'clock, all three were tucked into the guest room bed again, this time with a promise from Peyton to take them shopping for their own pajamas tomorrow. When she closed the bedroom door, she found Sihan waiting in the living room with 2 cups of tea. Peace offering, he said, holding one out. She accepted it with a small smile. Thanks. They sat on opposite ends of the couch. The same couch where, years ago, they'd first discussed their arranged marriage. Where they'd signed the papers that tied their lives together. Where they'd sometimes shared comfortable silences on rare evenings when neither had work obligations. I made a lot of mistakes, Sihan said finally, breaking the silence. With you. With our marriage. We both did, Peyton acknowledged. But my biggest mistake was keeping you separate from everything. I thought I was protecting you, but all I did was make you feel isolated. You did protect me, Peyton admitted. From a world I wasn't ready for. But yes, I felt like an outsider in your life. Like a piece of furniture that came with a business deal. Sihan winced. I never thought of you that way. Didn't you? Our marriage was arranged to secure shipping routes. We both know that. At first, yes. But you became important to me. He struggled with the words. You were kind. Thoughtful. You left sticky notes reminding me to eat during long meetings. You organized my chaos without trying to change who I was. Peyton looked surprised. I didn't think you noticed those things. I noticed. Sihan set his tea down. I wasn't good at showing it, but I did. Which is why, when you left, it hurt more than it should have for an arranged marriage. Peyton was quiet for a long moment. I should have told you about the pregnancy. Yes. You should have. I was scared, Sihan. Not just of your family, but of you. Of what you might say. You made it very clear you didn't want children. Because of my family. Because of the business. He shook his head. Not because I didn't want them with you. The distinction hung in the air between them. What do we do now? Peyton asked softly. I testify. Clear your name. Make sure you and the kids are safe. And then what? You go to prison? Maybe. Hopefully not for long. David thinks with full cooperation, I might get minimal time. And your family? They'll disown me. Cut me off completely. But that's a price I'm willing to pay. Peyton set her cup down and moved closer to him on the couch. You'd give up everything for children you just met? For my children. Yes. He looked at her. And for you. For the woman who protected them for 4 years. Who built a life from nothing to keep them safe. Their eyes met, an understanding passing between them. Not romance, it was too soon, too complicated for that. But respect. And maybe, eventually, forgiveness. We'll do this together, Peyton decided. I'll testify about what I know, which isn't much, but I can confirm I was kept in the dark. That might help your case. You don't have to. I do. These kids need both parents, Sihan. Not just me. Not just you. Both of us. Sihan felt something tight in his chest loosen. Both of us. And whatever happens after the testimony, we'll figure it out. For them. Their hands found each other on the couch cushion between them. Not quite intertwined, just touching. A small bridge across the gap of 4 years. A soft knock on the bedroom door interrupted the moment. Elena stood there in her oversized t-shirt nightgown, clutching her bunny. I had a bad dream, she said. Peyton immediately stood up. Come here, baby. But Elena walked past her mother straight to Sihan. Without a word, she climbed into his lap and curled against his chest. Make the bad things go away, Daddy, she mumbled against his shirt. Sihan's arms wrapped around her automatically, protective. He looked up at Peyton, who was watching with a soft expression. No bad things are going to get you, he promised Elena. Not while I'm here. Elena's breathing evened out as she drifted back to sleep, secure in her newfound father's arms. But before she was completely asleep, she asked the question that would change everything. Are you going to be our daddy now? Forever? Sihan looked at Peyton, a question in his eyes. She gave a small nod, permission to answer honestly. Yes, Sihan said softly. I'm going to be your daddy forever. As simple as that. A promise made to a sleepy 4-year-old that would reshape his entire life. And somehow, despite everything they still had to face, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. You're sure you'll be okay with all 3 of them? Peyton asked for the third time, checking her reflection in the mirror. David had brought her another outfit for her testimony, a simple navy blue dress that looked professional without being flashy. "We'll be fine," Sihan assured her, though he wasn't nearly as confident as he sounded. "It's just one day. James needs his medicine at noon. The pink liquid in my purse. And Elena won't eat anything green. And Mia." "Peyton." Sihan gently turned her away from the mirror to face him. "I can handle this. You focus on the testimony." She took a deep breath. "I know. It's just. I've never been away from them for a whole day before." The weight of that hit Sihan hard. In 4 years, she'd never had a break. Never had someone else to share the load. While he'd been running business meetings and flying around the world, she'd been here. Every day. Every night. Alone. "I've got this," he said softly. "And they've got me." The kids were having breakfast in the kitchen, cereal for James and Mia, yogurt for Elena. They looked up when Peyton came to say goodbye. "Why can't we come with you?" Elena asked, yogurt smeared on her chin. "Because Mommy has to talk to some important people about grown-up things," Peyton explained, wiping Elena's face. "But I'll be back for dinner. And Daddy will take good care of you. Will you bring us a present?" Elena asked hopefully. "If you're good for your dad," Peyton promised, kissing her forehead. James looked worried. "But what if I get sick again? My throat still hurts." "Then Daddy will give you your medicine." Peyton felt his forehead. "You're a little warm, but the doctor said that's normal. Just rest today, okay?" James nodded solemnly. Mia just watched, her eyes moving between the adults. "David's waiting downstairs," Sihan reminded gently. With a final round of hugs and kisses, Peyton left. The door closed behind her, and Sihan turned to face 3 small humans who were now entirely his responsibility. It was terrifying. So, he clapped his hands together. "What should we do today?" "I want to watch TV," Elena said immediately. "More cereal," James mumbled. "I need my hair braided," Mia announced, holding up a hairbrush. And just like that, Sihan's day as a solo parent began. The morning went smoothly at first. TV for Elena. Second breakfast for James. A disastrous attempt at braiding Mia's hair that ended with her doing it herself while giving him step-by-step instructions that he completely failed to follow. "You need practice," Mia informed him seriously. "Mommy can do it with her eyes closed." "I believe that," Sihan said, amazed at how complicated something as simple as a braid could be. By noon, James was definitely sick. His little face was flushed, and he complained that his throat hurt too much to eat lunch. Sihan found the medicine Peyton mentioned, measured it carefully, and coaxed James to take it. "I want Mommy," James whimpered after swallowing the pink liquid. "I know, buddy." Sihan sat beside him on the couch. "She'll be back soon. How about we watch a movie?" James nodded, leaning against Sihan's side. The simple trust in the gesture made Sihan's chest tighten. This little boy, who'd been so cautious around him, was now seeking comfort from him. Elena climbed up on his other side. "Can we watch Frozen? Again?" Mia groaned. "We always watch Frozen." "Because it's the best," Elena insisted. "How about something new?" Sihan suggested, scrolling through options. "What about this one? How to Train Your Dragon. Does it have princesses?" Elena asked suspiciously. "No, but it has dragons." "Dragons are cooler than princesses." "No, they're not." Elena looked outraged. "Yes, they are," James murmured, interest sparked despite his illness. "Let's find out," Sihan said, pressing play before a full sibling argument could erupt. 10 minutes into the movie, all 3 kids were captivated. Sihan used the moment of peace to check his phone. No updates from David or Peyton yet. The testimony must still be ongoing. By mid-afternoon, James was feeling worse. His forehead felt hot to Sihan's touch, and he was barely watching the movie now. Sihan called the pediatrician number he found in Peyton's phone. He has a fever of 101, Sihan explained after describing James's symptoms. And he's complaining about his throat. Sounds like it could be strep, the nurse said. Can you bring him in? We have an opening at 3:30. Yes. We'll be there. Getting 3 kids ready to leave the apartment was like herding cats. Elena couldn't find her shoes. Mia insisted on bringing a book. James just wanted to stay on the couch. If we go to the doctor, we can stop for ice cream after, Sihan promised desperately. Ice cream is good for sore throats. That got them moving. The doctor's office was across town, and Sihan had to navigate car seats and parking and check-in forms all while keeping track of 3 kids. How did Peyton do this every day? Are you the father? The receptionist asked, looking at the family name on the chart. Yes, Sihan said, realizing it was the first time he'd claimed that officially. Yes, I am. James was diagnosed with strep throat and given antibiotics. The girls were restless after sitting in the waiting room, so Sihan took them to a nearby playground while they waited for the prescription to be filled. Watch me, Daddy. Elena called, climbing to the top of the slide. I'm the queen of the castle. Be careful. Sihan called back, torn between letting her be independent and worrying about her falling. Mia sat beside him on the bench, her book open on her lap. James gets sick a lot, she informed him. Mom says it's because he was the smallest when we were born. Is that so? Sihan was constantly amazed at how much Mia observed and remembered. Yep. He was in the hospital extra days. Elena and me got to go home first. She turned a page in her book. But he's smart. Smarter than both of us. You're all smart in different ways, Sihan said, thinking how much Mia reminded him of Peyton, observant, thoughtful, a little reserved. A sudden wail from the playground made them both look up. Elena was on the ground by the slide, crying. Sihan ran over, heart pounding. What happened? I fell, Elena sobbed, holding her knee. It hurts. Sihan picked her up, checking for injuries. Just a scrape, but she was crying like her heart would break. He carried her back to the bench, digging in the bag Peyton had packed for band-aids. You're okay, he murmured, cleaning the scrape with a wet wipe. Just a little scratch. It hurts. Elena wailed. I want Mommy. Mommy's not here right now, Sihan said, feeling completely inadequate. But I'm here. And I've got Princess band-aids. That caught her attention. Princess? Yep. Look. He held up a band-aid with Elsa on it. Should we put this on your battle wound? Elena nodded, tears subsiding. And a kiss? Mommy always kisses boo-boos. Sihan gently kissed her knee before applying the band-aid. There. All better? All better, Elena agreed, suddenly fine. She scrambled off his lap. Can I go play more? Maybe something less dangerous, Sihan suggested, heart still racing from the scare. How about the swings? By the time they picked up James's prescription and got back to the apartment, Sihan was exhausted. How did Peyton manage this every day? The constant vigilance. The emotional swings. The physical demands of carrying children and bags and keeping track of everything. He got everyone settled with a movie while he made a simple dinner of pasta and chicken nuggets. James only picked at his food, but the girls ate well. Then it was bath time, another adventure in chaos, followed by pajamas and bedtime stories. But Mommy's not back yet, Mia protested when Sihan said it was bedtime. She'll come kiss you goodnight when she gets home, Sihan promised. But we always get 3 stories, Elena insisted. I already read 3. No, you read 2.5. 'Cause you skipped pages in the last one. Caught red-handed. These kids missed nothing. Fine. One more. A short one. 2 stories later, Sihan finally got the girls to agree to sleep. James had fallen asleep earlier on the couch and was now tucked in between his sisters, his breathing a little raspy but his fever down after the first dose of antibiotics. Sihan collapsed on the couch, every muscle aching. He had a new, profound respect for Peyton. For all single parents. This was the hardest job he'd ever done, and he only had to do it for one day. The door opened quietly. Peyton slipped in, looking drained but relieved. "Hey," she whispered, seeing the kids were asleep. "How was everything?" "James has strep throat. The doctor prescribed antibiotics. I got him some popsicles for his sore throat. Elena fell at the playground but she's fine. Mia helped me figure out the bath toys. And I now know every word to Frozen and How to Train Your Dragon." Peyton laughed softly. "So a normal day then. How do you do this? Every day? By yourself?" She shrugged. "You just do what you have to do." Sihan shook his head in amazement. "You're incredible." A slight blush colored her cheeks. "How about you? How was the testimony?" "Good, I think." Peyton sat beside him on the couch. "They mostly wanted to know about my father's shipping company. The routes. The contacts. I told them everything I remembered." "Which wasn't much," Sihan guessed. "No. But I was clear that my father's business was legitimate, and that if it was used for other purposes, neither of us knew about it." She hesitated. "They asked a lot about your father." Sihan nodded, unsurprised. "And?" "I told them I only met him at formal family gatherings. That he was always polite but distant with me." "That's accurate. David thinks it went well. He says I'm officially cleared as a person of interest. And because of my cooperation, they're willing to be more lenient with you." Sihan felt a weight lift off his shoulders. "So you're safe. Legally." "Yes. But David says there's still a risk. Your father's associates aren't going to be happy about the testimony." "Leave my father to me." Peyton studied him in the dim light. "What are you going to do?" "Face him. Tell him about the kids. Make it clear that if anything happens to you or them, I'll tell the feds everything I know." "That's dangerous, Sihan. Less dangerous than running." He ran a hand through his hair. "We can't keep running, Peyton. The kids deserve stability. A home. Friends. School." She nodded slowly. "I know. I've been thinking about that too." A comfortable silence fell between them. It reminded Sihan of evenings during their marriage, rare quiet moments when they just sit together, no need to fill the space with words. "You're good with them," Peyton said finally. "They already adore you." "I'm learning. Slowly. Faster than you think." She smiled. "Elena told me on the phone earlier that you kiss boo-boos just right. High praise indeed." Peyton laughed softly. "The highest." Sihan found himself watching her laugh. The way her eyes crinkled at the corners. The slight tilt of her head. He'd forgotten how much he enjoyed that sound. How rarely he'd heard it during their marriage. She caught him looking and her smile faded, replaced by something more complicated. Awareness. Uncertainty. Maybe a hint of the same attraction he was feeling. "It's late," she said, breaking the moment. "And tomorrow's another big day." "Right." Sihan cleared his throat. "You should sleep. You must be exhausted. So should you. Solo parenting is no joke. I have a whole new appreciation for what you've been doing." She stood up, pausing by the hallway. "Thank you, Sihan. For today." For all of this. You don't need to thank me for taking care of my own children. Yes, I do. Because you didn't have to. You could have just gotten your divorce and walked away. That was never an option. Not once I saw them. Their eyes met across the room, an understanding passing between them. Whatever happened next, they were in this together. For the kids. Good night, Si-hun. Good night, Peyton. After she disappeared down the hall, Si-hun checked his phone one last time. 3 missed calls from his father's number. He'd been avoiding them, but he couldn't do that forever. Just as he was about to turn off the phone, it rang again. His father. With a deep breath, Si-hun answered. Hello, father. I'm landing at SFO in 1 hour, his father's cold voice said without preamble. We need to talk. Face to face. It's late. The kids are asleep. Kids? His father's voice turned sharp. So it's true. You have children with that woman. Her name is Peyton. And yes, we have children. A long silence. Then, 1 hour. The usual hotel. Don't make me come find you. The call ended. Si-hun sat in the dark living room, his heart pounding. The confrontation he'd been dreading was now inevitable. And everything, his relationship with his father, the safety of his newfound family, his own future, hung in the balance. Si-hun didn't tell Peyton about his father's call until morning. No sense in both of them losing sleep over it. When he finally shared the news over coffee, her hands tightened around her mug. He wants to meet today, she asked, glancing toward the bedroom where the kids were still sleeping. At the St. Regis downtown. I thought I'd go alone first. Peyton shook her head. Bad idea. If he's angry about the testimony. He's my father, Peyton. He won't hurt me. You sure about that? Si-hun wasn't, actually. His father had never been physically violent, but his cold anger could be just as damaging. And now, with federal charges looming because of Si-hun's cooperation, all bets were off. I need to face him, Si-hun said. Explain about the kids. Try to make him understand. And if he doesn't? Then I make it clear where my priorities lie now. James wandered into the kitchen, hair sticking up in all directions, eyes still puffy with sleep. His throat was better this morning, the antibiotics doing their job. I'm hungry, he announced. Cereal or toast? Si-hun asked, already moving to the cabinet. Both, James decided, climbing onto a kitchen stool. Peyton watched Si-hun pour cereal and pop bread in the toaster. These small domestic acts that would have been unimaginable a week ago now seemed completely natural. Fine, she said quietly while James was distracted with his breakfast. You meet him first. But then we all go. He should meet his grandchildren. Si-hun hesitated. Are you sure that's wise? No. But he's their grandfather. And maybe seeing them will help him understand. The St. Regis was exactly the type of place Min-jun Bayan preferred, old-world luxury, impeccable service, and absolute discretion. Si-hun found his father in the hotel restaurant, sitting alone at a corner table with a cup of tea. At 62, Min-jun still cut an impressive figure. Tall, lean, immaculately dressed in a tailored suit. His hair was more salt than pepper now, but his eyes were as sharp as ever. Father, Si-hun greeted him with a slight bow, old habits dying hard. Sit. Min-jun gestured to the chair across from him. You look tired. I am. It's been a long week. So I hear. Min-jun's voice was calm, controlled. Cooperation with federal authorities. Testimony against family interests. A secret family suddenly appearing. You've been busy, Si-hun. It wasn't how I planned things. No? Min-jun raised an eyebrow. You flew here to get divorce papers signed. Simple task. Now I find you're living with your ex-wife and children you never mentioned. Children I didn't know existed until this week. Min-jun's eyes narrowed slightly. Explain. Si-hun did. He told his father everything, finding Peyton at the bistro, recognizing the children, the federal agent's arrival, their escape to the safe house, and finally, the testimony. She was protecting them, Si-hun finished. From what she thought was a dangerous situation. And was she wrong? Min-jun asked coldly. No. She wasn't. Si-hun met his father's gaze. The business wasn't safe for children. We both know that. Min-jun was quiet for a moment, studying his son. So what now? You throw away everything, your position, your future, your family, for a woman who hid your children from you? I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing what matters most. And we don't matter? The family that raised you? The business that will secure your future? That business is about to be dismantled by federal prosecutors, father. With or without my testimony. Min-jun's jaw tightened. Because your cousin couldn't keep his mouth shut. And now you follow his example. I'm protecting Peyton and my children. That's all. By betraying your blood. Si-hun leaned forward. No. By protecting it. Those kids are your grandchildren. Your legacy. And they deserve a father who isn't in prison. Something flickered in Min-jun's eyes. Surprise, perhaps. Or reluctant understanding. 3 children, you say? He asked, his tone slightly less harsh. Triplets. James, Mia, and Elena. They're 4 years old. And they look like you? James does. The girls have more of their mother in them. But yes, they're definitely Bayans. Min-jun nodded slowly. I want to meet them. That can be arranged. But I need your word, no threats, no intimidation. Peyton is already wary of you. With good reason, it seems. Min-jun's mouth tightened. But they are my grandchildren. I will behave accordingly. That afternoon, they met at a neutral location, an upscale family restaurant near the waterfront. Si-hun arrived with Peyton and the kids, all 3 dressed in their best clothes, which wasn't saying much since they still had limited wardrobes. Min-jun was already seated, looking distinctly uncomfortable in a restaurant with crayons on the tables and children at nearby booths. He stood when they approached, his eyes immediately going to the 3 small humans partially hiding behind their parents. Father, this is James, Mia, and Elena, Si-hun said, gesturing to each child. Kids, this is your grandfather, Mr. Bayan. James studied the older man with obvious suspicion. Mia moved closer to Peyton, clutching her hand. Only Elena stepped forward, fearless as always. You look like Daddy, but older, she announced. Min-jun's eyebrows shot up. Si-hun held his breath, waiting for his father's reaction. To his surprise, the corner of Min-jun's mouth twitched. And you look like your mother, he replied. But with your father's stubborn chin. Elena beamed, clearly taking this as a compliment. I'm the youngest. By 12 whole minutes. Is that so? Min-jun gestured to the table. Please, sit. Lunch was a strange affair. The children were on their best behavior, though Elena kept asking increasingly personal questions that made the adults tense. Why haven't we met you before? She wanted to know. I live far away, Min-jun said smoothly. In Korea. Is that why Daddy didn't live with us? Because he was with you in Korea? An uncomfortable silence fell. Min-jun looked at Si-hun, clearly expecting him to answer. No, Si-hun said gently. Daddy didn't live with you because he didn't know about you. Remember? We talked about this. Because Mommy was scared, Elena nodded seriously. Of the bad people. Min-jun's eyes darted to Peyton, who was focusing very intently on cutting James's chicken into smaller pieces. There are no bad people here, Minjun said, his voice surprisingly gentle. Just family. James, who had been quiet throughout the meal, suddenly spoke up. Mom says family doesn't always mean safe. Sihan nearly choked on his water. Out of the mouths of babes. Minjun studied James with new interest. Your mother is a smart woman. The smartest, James agreed loyally. And what about you? Are you smart too? James shrugged. I like math. And science. I can count to 102s. Can you now? Minjun looked impressed despite himself. Let's hear it. To everyone's surprise, James launched into a perfect count, 2, 4, 6, 8. All the way to 100. Minjun nodded approvingly. Very good. A natural aptitude for numbers is valuable. He gets that from you, Peyton said, speaking directly to Minjun for the first time. Sihan always had a head for numbers too. Minjun inclined his head, acknowledging the olive branch. And the girls? What are their talents? Mia's artistic, Peyton said. Like me. And Elena is persuasive. I can make anyone do anything, Elena announced proudly. Not anything, Peyton corrected. But she's very good at getting her way. A negotiator, Minjun said, amusement creeping into his voice. Also a valuable skill in business. Therefore, father, Sihan interjected. A bit early for career planning. Minjun waved this away. Never too early. These children have potential. They should be in the best schools. Learning multiple languages. Developing their natural abilities. They're already in a good preschool, Peyton said defensively. And they're happy. Of course. Minjun nodded, but it was clear he had more to say on the subject. After lunch, they sent the children to look at the fish tank in the restaurant lobby while the adults talked. They're impressive children, Minjun admitted. Well behaved. Intelligent. Thank you, Peyton said. That's kind of you to say. Not kindness. Observation. Minjun turned to Sihan. I understand why you've made certain choices. But there are better solutions than federal cooperation. Like what? Sihan asked. Come back to Seoul. Bring the children. Your position in the legitimate side of the business remains secure. We've been moving in that direction anyway. And Peyton? Minjun's eyes flicked to her. She would be welcome as the mother of your children. The marriage could be reinstated. Just like that? Peyton asked skeptically. Family comes first, Minjun said simply. You've proven yourself capable, raising 3 children alone. That earns respect. It's not that simple, father, Sihan said. There's the federal investigation. The testimony. Which can be managed. With the right lawyers, the right connections. You're asking me to go back on my word, Sihan realized. To undermine my testimony. I'm asking you to protect your family. All of your family. Minjun looked between them. Think about it. The children would have every advantage in Seoul. The best schools. Financial security. Family connections. And the price? Peyton asked. Loyalty, Minjun answered. To family above all. Sihan shook his head. I can't do that. I won't put them at risk again. They're at risk now, Minjun pointed out. Here. Unprotected. They have me. One man against potential enemies? Not good odds. Peyton had been quiet, watching this exchange. Now she spoke up. What if we found a middle ground? Both men turned to look at her. What if we moved to Seoul, but independently? Sihan keeps his cooperation agreement with the U.S. authorities. The business transitions to fully legitimate operations, as you said you're already doing. The children get to know their Korean heritage and extended family, but on our terms. Min-jun considered this an interesting proposal. But Sihun's place is in the family business. My place is with my children, Sihun said firmly. Whatever else happens, that doesn't change. A tension-filled silence fell. Min-jun studied his son, seeing something new there. A resolve that hadn't existed before. Fatherhood had changed him, already. You've made your choice, then, Min-jun said finally. I have. Min-jun nodded slowly. Very well. I won't interfere with your decision. But remember, those children are Bayans. They belong to our family too. We know, Peyton said. And we want them to know their heritage. Their family. Just not the parts that put them in danger. Min-jun almost smiled. You found a formidable woman, Sihun. She reminds me of your mother. It was the highest compliment Min-jun could give, and they all knew it. Sihun's mother had been the one person who could stand up to him, before cancer took her 10 years ago. Thank you, father. As they prepared to leave, Min-jun stopped by the fish tank to say goodbye to his grandchildren. To everyone's surprise, he gave each child a small red envelope, traditional for Korean elders to give to children. For your future, he told them. From your grandfather. Thank you, Mia said politely. Can I open it now? Elena asked. At home, Peyton told her. Min-jun watched them, his face unreadable. They are fine children, he said to Sihun. You should be proud. I am, Sihun replied. Even after just a few days. Perhaps you will bring them to visit Korea someday. When things are settled. Perhaps. With formal goodbyes, Min-jun departed. The tension that had been building all day finally eased. That went better than expected, Peyton admitted as they walked back to the car. I thought he'd be more threatening. Cold. Sihun supplied. Yes. The kids softened him. Especially Elena. She has that effect on people. Takes after her father that way, Peyton said with a small smile. You always could charm people when you wanted to. Sunday was quiet. They stayed in the apartment, playing games and watching movies. The kids opened their red envelopes to find generous gift cards, not cash, which would have been traditional, but practical financial support that couldn't be traced. Your father is smarter than I gave him credit for, Peyton commented when she saw the cards. He didn't become who he is by being stupid, Sihun agreed. He's adapting. To us? To the situation? To reality. The old ways are ending. He knows that. That night, after the kids were asleep, Peyton checked her email for the first time in days. She gasped softly, drawing Sihun's attention. What is it? He asked. An email from my old boss at the design firm. They want me back. For a major project. That's great. Where? Peyton looked up from her phone, her expression a mix of excitement and uncertainty. Seoul. They're opening a branch office and want me to lead the design team. Sihun stared at her. Seoul? As in Korea? Yes. Full relocation package. Benefits. School allowance for the kids. Peyton shook her head in disbelief. It's an amazing offer. Is this my father's doing? Sihun wondered aloud. I don't think so. I've stayed in touch with my old boss. He knows my work. They looked at each other, the possibility hanging in the air between them. Seoul, Sihun said again. Where my father is. Where your family is, Peyton corrected. The kid's family. What are you thinking? Peyton bit her lip. I'm thinking, maybe your father's right about one thing. The children should know their heritage. Their family. And you? What would you want? A fresh start. Somewhere neither of us has history. She met his eyes. What about you? Sihan considered it. Seoul. The place he'd left behind. The family he'd defied. But also the place where his children could connect with their Korean heritage. Where they could build something new. I think, he said slowly, we should seriously consider it. 6 months, Peyton explained, scrolling through the email. They're opening a new design branch in Seoul and want me to lead the interior design team for their flagship projects. Corporate offices, but also some residential work. Sihan sipped his coffee, watching her face as she read the details. Her eyes were bright with excitement, the first time he'd seen that look since finding her at the bistro. The money is good, he asked. Very good. Better than I was making before. Plus housing allowance, school stipend for the kids, relocation expenses. She shook her head in disbelief. It's kind of the perfect offer. Too perfect. Sihan couldn't help wondering. Right after meeting with my father? I thought that too. But I've kept in touch with this firm for years. They know my work. And the timing makes sense, Seoul's design market is booming right now. The kids were at the kitchen table, deep in a coloring project. Elena looked up at the mention of Seoul. What's Seoul? She asked, mangling the pronunciation. Seoul, Sihan corrected gently. It's a big city in Korea. Where I grew up. Where Grandpa lives. James asked, suddenly interested. Yes. Where Grandpa lives. Are we going there? Mia's sharp ears had caught the entire conversation. Peyton and Sihan exchanged looks. They hadn't intended to discuss this with the kids until they'd made a decision. We're thinking about it, Peyton said carefully. Mommy got offered a special job there. But we haven't decided yet. Would we live in Grandpa's house? James asked. No, both adults said simultaneously, then smiled at each other. We'd have our own place, Sihan explained. But you could visit Grandpa sometimes. Elena abandoned her coloring and climbed into Sihan's lap. Would you come too, Daddy? The simple question caught him off guard. Of course he would go with them. He couldn't imagine being separated from these children now that he'd found them. But it hadn't been explicitly discussed with Peyton. I hope so, he said, looking at Peyton. If that's what we all decide. Do they have swings in Korea? Elena wanted to know. The best swings, Sihan assured her. And parks and ice cream and lots of fun things. But we'd have to leave our friends, Mia pointed out, always practical. And my teacher. And our apartment. Yes, Peyton admitted. We would. It would be a big change. But an adventure too, Sihan added. You'd learn a new language. Meet new friends. Try new foods. Like what foods? James asked suspiciously. Kimchi, Sihan said. And bulgogi, that sweet meat you cook at the table. And hotteok, pancakes filled with sweet syrup. Pancakes. Elena clapped her hands. I vote yes. The adults laughed. If only all decisions were that simple. Later, after the kids were occupied with a movie, Sihan and Peyton sat at the kitchen table with laptops open, researching what a move to Seoul would actually entail. The international school looks good, Peyton said, scrolling through a website. They have programs starting at preschool age. Taught in English but with Korean language integration. It's expensive, Sihan noted, looking at the fees. The company will cover most of it. And you said your assets aren't all frozen, right? Right. My personal accounts in Korea are still accessible. And I have investments that aren't connected to the family business. So we could afford it? Yes. Money isn't a concern. Sihan switched to a real estate website. Housing is the bigger issue. Where do we want to live? Gangnam is expensive but has good schools nearby. Hongdae is more artistic, which you might like. Itaewon has more foreigners. What about? Peyton hesitated. Would we be living together? Or separately? The question hung in the air between them. Sihan looked up from his laptop. What would you prefer? He asked carefully. I'm not sure. The kids are used to having me to themselves. But they've bonded with you so quickly. She twisted a pen between her fingers. And practically speaking, it would be easier to have two adults in one household in a foreign country. But we're not together. Not like that. And I don't want to confuse the kids. Sihan nodded slowly. What if we found a place with enough space? Separate bedrooms, separate bathrooms. Like roommates who co-parent. That could work, Peyton agreed. At least to start. To start, Sihan echoed, wondering what might come after. They spent the day researching schools, apartments, visa requirements, shipping costs. The more they looked into it, the more possible it seemed. Peyton's company would handle most of the paperwork. Sihan still had connections in Seoul that could smooth their transition. That evening, after putting the kids to bed, they sat on the balcony of the apartment with glasses of wine, watching the city lights. So I guess we're really doing this, Peyton said, her voice soft in the night air. Seems that way. Unless you're having second thoughts. She shook her head. No. It feels right. For the kids. For my career. She glanced at him. What about you? Are you okay going back? After everything with your father? Sihan considered the question. It's complicated. I left Seoul because I wanted distance from the family business. But now I'm going back on my own terms. With my own family. Your father will expect you to reconcile. To rejoin the business. Probably. But I don't have to do that. What will you do? For work? Sihan smiled slightly. I've been thinking about that. I have contacts in the legitimate business world. Investment opportunities. Consulting possibilities. He looked at her. And I want time with the kids. I've missed 4 years already. Peyton was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry about that. About keeping them from you. You were protecting them. I understand that now. Still. They should have known you. And you should have known them. Sihan reached across the space between their chairs, taking her hand. We can't change the past. But we can build something good from here. She didn't pull away. What exactly are we building, Sihan? A family. Whatever form that takes. He squeezed her hand gently. No pressure for more than that. Just two people raising 3 amazing kids together. And if feelings develop, she asked, not quite meeting his eyes. Then we deal with that when it happens. Honestly. Openly. He smiled. We've learned that lesson the hard way, haven't we? Peyton nodded, returning the smile. Yes. We have. The next day, they took the kids to Peyton's apartment to pack what they wanted to take to Seoul. The small space felt even smaller with all 5 of them there. Sihan looked around, trying to imagine Peyton raising 3 babies in this tiny apartment, and his chest ached. We don't need much, Peyton explained as she sorted through clothing. Most of this is secondhand anyway. We'll buy new things in Seoul. I want all my stuffed animals, Elena declared, clutching an armful of well-loved toys. We can take your favorites, Peyton negotiated. But not all of them. The airplane has rules about how much we can bring. That's not fair. Elena's lower lip trembled. Tell you what, Sihan said, kneeling beside her. We'll pick your top 5 friends to come on the airplane. And when we get to Seoul, we'll find them some new friends to meet. Elena considered this. Promise? Promise. James was methodically packing his small collection of books and science toys, organizing them by size. Mia was having a harder time, sitting in front of her shelf of artwork and treasures with a troubled expression. "What's wrong, sweetie?" Peyton asked, sitting beside her. "I can't decide what to take," Mia said. "I don't want to leave anything behind." "We can take pictures of everything," Sihun suggested. "So you always remember." Mia looked up at him. "Really?" "Sure." He pulled out his phone. "Let's make a photo album of all your special things. Then even if they stay here, you'll have them with you." Mia's face brightened. She started arranging her treasures for photos, explaining the story behind each one. Sihun listened attentively, learning more about his daughter through these small objects: the seashell she found on her first beach trip, the pine cone from a park picnic, the ribbon from a dance class performance. By the afternoon, they had sorted through most of the apartment. What they would take to Seoul. What would go into storage? What would be donated? The kids were getting restless in the small space. "How about we visit some of your favorite places?" Sihun suggested. "Before we leave San Francisco?" The kids loved this idea. They spent the rest of the day on a farewell tour: the playground with the big slide, the ice cream shop where they celebrated birthdays, the library where they attended story time, the beach where they collected shells. At each stop, Sihun watched Peyton and the kids interact with the community they'd built. The librarian who knew each child's reading preferences. The ice cream shop owner who gave them extra sprinkles. The other parents at the playground who waved and asked about their day. Peyton had created a life here. A good life. Safe, stable, connected. And now she was leaving it behind. For her career, yes, but also because of him. Because of what his presence in their lives had set in motion. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly as they watched the kids play on the beach. "Leaving everything you've built here?" Peyton looked out at the waves. "It wasn't meant to be permanent. This life. I was always looking over my shoulder, waiting for the past to find us. And now it has. Yes. But not in the way I feared." She smiled slightly. "The kids need their father, Sihun. I've always known that. Even when I was running from you." "And what about what you need?" She considered this. "I need to stop running. To build something real. Something that isn't based on fear." The next 24 hours were a whirlwind of activity. Confirming flights. Submitting visa applications expedited by Peyton's company. Setting up housing for their arrival. Final packing and arrangements. Tuesday morning found them at the airport, 3 sleepy kids and too many carry-on bags. They'd shipped most of their belongings ahead, but still had essential items for the long flight. "I need to go potty," Elena announced as they approached security. "Me too," Mia agreed. Peyton sighed. "Bathroom trip number 3. "I'll take them," Sihun offered. "You watch the bags." "You can't take girls to the bathroom," James pointed out. "You're a boy." "I'll stand right outside the door," Sihun promised. "You can all go together." This compromise seemed acceptable. Sihun escorted the 3 kids to the family bathroom, waiting outside while they took care of business. Through the door, he could hear them chattering. "I don't want to go on the plane," Elena was saying. "It's scary." "It's not scary," Mia countered. "It's like a bus but in the sky." "But what if we fall?" "We won't fall," James assured her. "Planes almost never crash. The statistics are very good." Sihun smiled, hearing his son's logical approach. But Elena wasn't convinced. When they emerged, she looked up at Sihun with worried eyes. "Daddy, what if we don't like Korea? Can we come back home?" Sihun knelt down to her level. "Of course. If you don't like it, we can come back. But I think you might love it. There are so many exciting things to see. Will you stay with us there? The whole time? Yes, I'll be with you. Promise? Promise. This seemed to satisfy her, and they rejoined Peyton at security. But when the time came to board the plane, Elena suddenly dug in her heels. I'm not going, she declared, plopping down on the floor of the gate area. Elena, honey, we have to go now, Peyton tried. Everyone's waiting. No. I want to stay here. Sihan knelt beside her again. What's wrong, princess? I thought we fixed all the worries. Elena's bottom lip trembled. But you didn't promise for real. What do you mean? I promised I'd stay with you in Seoul. But what if you change your mind? What if you decide you don't want to be our daddy anymore? The question hit Sihan like a physical blow. Behind him, he could feel Peyton freeze. Elena, he said softly, I will never stop being your daddy. Never. No matter what happens, no matter where we live, I will always be your father. That's a forever promise. Pinky swear? Elena held out her tiny finger. Pinky swear. Sihan linked his finger with hers. The most serious promise of all. Elena seemed satisfied with this. She stood up and took his hand. Okay. We can go now. As they walked down the jetway, Peyton fell into step beside him. A forever promise, huh? Is there any other kind when it comes to family? Sihan asked. She smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. No. I guess there isn't. The autumn morning air in Seoul was crisp as Peyton helped the kids into their coats. 2 months in Korea had brought changes both small and large. The most noticeable was language. The kids were soaking up Korean phrases like little sponges, already able to ask for their favorite foods and count to 20. Hurry up, we're late. Mia called, always the timekeeper of the family. She stood by the door of their apartment, backpack already on. Coming, Peyton replied, helping Elena with her stubborn zipper. Sihan, have you seen James's science folder? Got it. Sihan emerged from the kitchen, folder in one hand, coffee in the other. It was under the mail. Their apartment in the Yongsan district wasn't huge, but it was modern and comfortable, with enough space for everyone. 3 bedrooms, 1 for the kids, 1 for Peyton, 1 for Sihan. A balcony with a view of Namsan Tower. Walking distance to the international school. Everyone have everything? Peyton asked, doing the final check. Backpacks? Lunchboxes? Water bottles? Yes, Mom, the kids chorused, the routine now familiar. The walk to school took 15 minutes, through a local park, past small shops and coffee places that now greeted them by name. Sihan held Elena's hand, while Peyton walked with James and Mia. Other international school families nodded in recognition as they arrived at the gates. Have a great day, Peyton said, giving each child a hug. Daddy will pick you up after school. We have our presentations today, James reminded Sihan. Don't forget. I wouldn't miss it, Sihan promised. 3 o'clock sharp. As the kids disappeared into the building, Peyton and Sihan stood for a moment in the morning sunshine. 2 months, Peyton said softly. Sometimes it feels like we've always been here. And sometimes it feels like we just arrived yesterday, Sihan agreed. He checked his watch. You have that client meeting at 10, right? Yeah. The big hotel lobby project. You sure you're okay taking the afternoon for the kids' presentations? Absolutely. My meetings are all morning. Sihan hesitated, then added, dinner at my father's tonight. He reminded me twice yesterday. Peyton nodded. The kids have been looking forward to it. Elena made him a drawing. Of course she did. Sihan smiled. She has him wrapped around her little finger. They walked together to the main street, where they'd part ways, Peyton to her design firm in Gangnam, Sihan to his temporary office space where he was building a consulting business. Good luck with the hotel people, Sihan said. Show them who's boss. Always do. Peyton grinned. Good luck with your investment guys. Don't let them snow you. Never do. They shared a smile, comfortable and genuine. Then, in a gesture that had become natural over the past weeks, Sihan leaned in and kissed her cheek. See you at the school, he said. See you there. As Peyton watched him walk away, she marveled at how much had changed. The cautious, distant man who'd walked into her bistro with divorce papers had transformed into this engaged father who remembered science folders and kindergarten presentations. Who kissed her cheek goodbye each morning as naturally as breathing. The transition to Seoul hadn't been easy. The first weeks were chaotic, jet lag, culture shock, language barriers. But they'd faced it together, tag-teaming parent duties, solving problems as they arose. Somewhere along the way, they'd become a team. Peyton's design work was thriving. Her Korean colleagues appreciated her fresh perspective, and her international experience gave her an edge with clients wanting modern designs. She was busier than she'd been in years, but also happier. That afternoon, Peyton slipped into the kindergarten classroom just as the presentations were starting. Sihan had saved her a seat near the front. Did I miss anything? She whispered. Just the teacher's introduction. The kids are next. One by one, the children stood up to talk about their families. The assignment had been to share something special about their home culture. When it was their turn, the triplets went up together. We're special because we have two cultures, Mia began confidently. Our mom is American and our dad is Korean. We just moved to Korea, James continued. Before that, we lived in San Francisco. That's where Daddy found us. Elena added, drawing chuckles from the other parents. Sihan and Peyton exchanged looks. Elena's version of their family story was always the most direct. In America, we learned about helping others and being ourselves, Mia said. In Korea, we're learning about respect and family connections. My grandfather says family is most important, James added seriously. He teaches us Korean traditions. Like bowing. Elena demonstrated an enthusiastic if wobbly bow. And special food on holidays. The teacher beamed as the class applauded. Peyton felt Sihan's hand find hers between their seats. She squeezed it gently, sharing the moment of pride. After school, they took the children for a treat at a nearby cafe, patbingsu, the shaved ice dessert that had quickly become their favorite Korean snack. Grandpa said he has a surprise for us tonight, Elena announced, ice cream smeared on her chin. A special one. Did he now? Sihan raised an eyebrow. He didn't tell me about any surprise. That's because it's for us, not you, Elena explained with 4-year-old logic. Right, James? James nodded. He told us last time. It's a secret. Sihan looked at Peyton, who shrugged. Minjun Bayan had been full of surprises lately. His relationship with the children had transformed him somewhat, still formal and proper, but with unexpected moments of warmth and indulgence. That evening, they took a car to Minjun's traditional home in a quiet, exclusive neighborhood. The children knew the routine now, shoes off at the entrance, respectful greetings, small gifts presented to their grandfather. Minjun welcomed them with formal warmth. You are looking well, he told Peyton. The Korean air agrees with you. The work agrees with me, she replied with a smile. The hotel project is going forward with my designs. Excellent. Your reputation grows. Minjun nodded approvingly. And you, Sihan? The consulting? 2 new clients this week. Both legitimate businesses looking to expand internationally. Good. Very good. Minjun turned his attention to the children. And my little dragons? How was school today? The kids launched into excited accounts of their presentation. Minjun listened with what appeared to be genuine interest, asking questions and offering praise. Watching him with the children, Peyton could hardly believe this was the same intimidating man she'd been so afraid of during her marriage. During dinner, served by Minjun's housekeeper, Elena could barely contain herself. "Grandpa. When do we get the surprise?" she finally burst out. Minjun's mouth twitched in what might have been a smile. "After dinner, little one. Patience is a virtue." "But I already used all my patience at school today," Elena explained seriously. The adults laughed. Even Minjun. After dinner, Minjun led them to a room that had previously been closed off during their visits. He slid open the traditional door to reveal a beautifully decorated children's space, low tables for crafts and study, cushions for sitting, shelves with books in both Korean and English, and traditional Korean games. "This is your room," Minjun announced to the wide-eyed children. "For when you visit grandfather." The children rushed in with excited squeals. Peyton and Sihan exchanged surprised looks. "Father," Sihan said quietly. "This is unexpected. Children need their own space," Minjun replied. "Even in their grandfather's home." As the children explored their new treasure trove, Minjun gestured for the adults to sit in the adjoining room where tea had been prepared. "You seem settled," he observed, pouring tea with precise movements. "The children are adapting well." "They are," Peyton agreed. "Better than I expected. The school has been wonderful." "And your living arrangements?" Minjun asked. "The separate bedrooms, still necessary?" Sihan nearly choked on his tea. "Father, that's not a traditional arrangement," Minjun finished for him. "Particularly for parents of 3 children." Peyton felt her cheeks warm. "We're taking things slowly. For the children's sake." Minjun made a noncommittal sound. "Children are more resilient than we think. And more observant." He sipped his tea. "They see the way you look at each other." Sihan and Peyton carefully avoided eye contact. "We're focused on being good parents," Sihan said. "Everything else is still developing." "As it should be." Minjun nodded. "But do not wait too long. Life is shorter than we imagine." From the children's room came sounds of laughter as they discovered more treasures. Minjun's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "They bring life to this old house," he said. "It has been too quiet for too many years." Later that evening, as they walked from the car to their apartment building, the sleeping children heavy in their arms, Peyton found herself thinking about Minjun's words. "Your father seems to have accepted our situation," she said quietly. Sihan adjusted James on his shoulder. "He's practical. Always has been." Once he saw the children were truly his grandchildren, family took priority over everything else. "Even your rebellion against the family business?" "Even that." Sihan smiled. "Though he still drops hints about potential positions whenever we talk." Inside the apartment, they worked together with practiced efficiency, changing sleepy children into pajamas, brushing teeth, tucking them into beds. Elena insisted on a story, despite barely being able to keep her eyes open. Sihan obliged with a short Korean folk tale about a tiger and a persimmon, his voice soft in the dimly lit room. When all 3 were finally asleep, Sihan and Peyton retreated to the living room. This had become their ritual, a quiet hour together after the children were in bed. Sometimes they discussed practical matters. Sometimes they shared memories. Sometimes they just sat in comfortable silence. Tonight, Peyton found herself thinking about the future. "The 6-month contract will be up before we know it," she said. "They've already hinted they want me to stay on permanently." "And do you want that?" Sihan asked. "To stay in Seoul?" "I think I do. The kids are thriving here. They're learning so much. And professionally, the opportunities are incredible." "What about personally?" Sihan's voice was carefully neutral. Peyton looked at him across the couch. The man who had once been a practical stranger in an arranged marriage. The man who had become the father of her children. The man who now knew exactly how she took her coffee and which bedtime story would calm Elena's nightmares. Personally, she said slowly, I think we've built something good here. Something worth continuing. As co-parents? As partners, Peyton clarified. In every sense that matters. Sihan's eyes held hers. I'd like that. Me too. Simple words for a profound shift. Not a dramatic declaration of love, but something deeper. A choice. A commitment. A future. The next morning, Peyton stood at the school gate watching a scene that still felt miraculous. Sihan kneeling to fix Elena's hair ribbon. James showing him a science project. Mia organizing everyone's schedules in her determined way. Her family. Complete at last. Inside the classroom, Elena's teacher was having the children introduce their parents for family day. When Elena's turn came, she pulled Sihan forward by the hand. This is my daddy, she announced proudly. He was lost but he found us. And now he's home forever. He pinky promised. Sihan's eyes met Peyton's over their daughter's head, filled with emotion. Sometimes the simplest truths were the most powerful ones. And that's where our family found their happy ending, not with a dramatic kiss or wedding, but with quiet Sunday mornings, shared responsibilities, and 3 kids who finally had both parents in their lives. If this story touched your heart like it touched mine, smash that subscribe button for more stories that prove love comes in all different forms. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I love connecting with viewers from around the world. Thank you for listening.